There's a lot of people even use like AI, to draft agreement for them. Okay, so funny story. I saw an agreement drafted by AI, ChatGPT, and then someone asked me to look at it, that this agreement was drafted that he wants to sign. And I just looked at it and I was so pissed because there are lots of traps. And you can't see it because you're not trained to look at it. It's just like someone that is not a doctor trying to perform a surgery.
Wow.
You've not been trained to do that. So how are you going to pick out the red flags, right?
We have His Precious Amarachi Chukwuma. So Precious is a lawyer. She has an interest in cybersecurity, cyber law, and technology-related legal issues. She's also passionate about conversations around data protection, digital security, compliance, and how law interacts with emerging technologies. Apart from this, she enjoys helping startups to grow their businesses and understand the importance of having the right legal structures and agreements in building sustainable businesses. So if you are ready for this conversation, which I know you are, let's get into it. So you're welcome, Miss Precious. It's very nice having you to join this conversation.
Hi, Amarachi. It's nice being here. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you to everyone for tuning in and listening. Yeah.
Thank you, Ma. So let's just dive deep into what we have for today. I'm sure our viewers for today are really excited already about this conversation. So, many businesses, especially in this part of the world, they are making money every day, but they are not being registered, right? I went to a conference and they're talking about the number of businesses that are registered. And it's so alarming because they are not really getting access to opportunities that other registered businesses are having, like both international opportunities, access to grants, and to certain loans that registered businesses can actually access. So my question is this: what exactly are they risking by operating in that way?
So thank you once again for having me here. Nigerian businessmen, especially from the part of the world where we are from, right? They believe in, we got to hustle now, fix this later. Like they believe in the idea of making money first before having legal structure on ground. They feel that, okay, we'll have this structure when we have made the money, which is very risky. Like, we know that whether you're operating a shop in Onisha, in Aba, or a logistic company, startup, whatever you're doing, actually more expensive having the structure when you already have like a name, a presence, a brand, and then you don't have like a legal structure to back you up. There are risks to these things. Like businessmen, many entrepreneurs believe that they are too small to register. I mean, this is just a business where I'm just making like 100,000, 50,000. So what's the need to register this business with CAC and all that? What I believe in life is the concept of luck is opportunity meeting preparedness, right? So if an opportunity comes your way and you're not prepared for it, that's one opportunity pass you by. But luck happens when you're prepared for an opportunity. Now, how do you get prepared for an opportunity? I remember some years back, I worked with this NGO. It's called Association of Female Agripreneurs, and we discovered that we have a lot of agripreneurs in Nigeria, and then we discovered that a majority of them, right, are women farmers. But these women farmers don't have a voice, right? They believe that what they are doing is small scale. It doesn't count. It's insignificant in the growth of the whole landscape. But you notice that when you put these so-called small businesses together, they make a whole bunch. So we discovered that a lot of grants that comes to agripreneurs in terms of foreign grants, local grants, and what have you, in terms of opportunities, they don't get to these women folks because most of them are not registered, right? They're not registered. They don't have an association. But you see the male folks, on the other hand, they have a well-structured stuff such that even though they may not be the one doing the work directly, right? They may be, give or take, like the middleman. But because they are well-structured, they get to receive all these grants. So that is one of the major risks of not having your business registered. Like, when you don't have your business registered with CAC. CAC is Corporate Affairs Commission. That's the body in Nigeria that deals with registration of company business names and what have you. So another disadvantage of not registering your business is that you cannot open a corporate account. Right. So you call yourself a business and then you're using a private account for your money. When someone wants to send a whole bulk of money, they don't feel safe sending it to a private account. So if you don't have your company registered, right, you cannot have a corporate account. And if you don't have a corporate account, you get to miss out on a lot of things. Imagine I'm someone and then I want to do business with someone who is a business owner, right? And then I ask you for your details and then you're sending me your private details. You're sending me Precious Chukuma Access Bank account. I won't feel safe doing that because there's no structure, right? I won't want to give my money to someone who doesn't have proper structure to protect not just you, but also me, right? So that's one thing. Another thing again, another disadvantage, another risk you get to see with not registering your business is that you don't have a legal name. Like there's nothing to protect you. Give for instance, you started a business, right? You have a brand, probably you repair shoes, you make shoes, and then you have that business. And then you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're on Facebook, and you're making massive sale. And then people already know you for that particular name. Okay, let's say your name is Achalugo Enterprise or something like that. And then people already know you with that name, right? And then because you're not registered, because your brand is not registered, because your name is not trademark. Trademark is like protection for a particular idea, right? Where you register to save that stuff so that nobody else can use that name, nobody else can make use of that brand, right? So you don't have all these in place. Tomorrow I can just wake up and say, I like this name I'm seeing on Instagram, and then I go check. This person is not registered. And instantly I registered that name. CAC will not say, because this person has been in operation since 1998, right? And me, I just registered in 2005. They won't look at it that way. The fact that I'm registered give me ownership of that name, give me ownership of that brand. And tomorrow I can take you to court and say, you are using my name, you're using my brand, stop. Do you understand? So that's a very big risk, especially if you have built on that name or that brand. Another risk again is personal risks, in the sense that if you don't register your business as a company, the business is you and you are the business. What do I mean? It means that business is not protected legally, such that if you personally, if you're owing someone, say like you're owing someone 1 million naira, right? That person you're owing can take that money from your business. Or if your business is owing someone, like you did business with somebody, say you own a shop in Onisha and then you did business with somebody and then you use your business to take goods on credit, right? That person can collect that money back from you as a person, right? Person can take you to court such that you're liable for that loan. However, if you have a company, right, you are protected from your company such that if your company is in debt, that doesn't mean you are in debt because you are two separate entities. Yeah, so you both of you, like that's two separate entities. The company is on its own and then you are also on your own. So there are a lot more risks. Now, I've been using these terms, business name, company. Now, there's a difference between registering a business name and registering a company. Now, registering a business name, this is like a trading name, right? People do that a lot because it's cheaper and it's faster. But there are also risks to this because you and the business, you are one. It's just the same thing. Although there's a little structure, right? But it's not as detailed as you having a company, right? You having a company means you're creating a separate legal person. It means you as a person, you're giving birth to a separate person by law, right? Two different entities. So that company can own property, that company can be in debt. If that business should fail, it doesn't affect you as a person, it doesn't affect your personal assets. So everything is safe, right? But when you have a business, if that business should go under, you as a person, you also get to, in a way, go under with the business because whatever the business is owing can be gotten from you as an individual because they are no separate entity. They're just one. Yes. So I hope that's answered your question.
Yeah, wow, powerful. These are really powerful insights. Like, that means the benefits really, in fact, I don't think there's any disadvantage apart from
No, no,
some
no.
businesses try to run away from tax, but there's also a tax evasion for businesses,
Yes.
right?
Okay, so let me speak on the tax
Oh,
aspect. Okay, right. So now, based on the Nigerian law, right, Nigerian new tax law that came into effect last year, right?
yeah.
So big companies now, not businesses, right? You know, we've already made a distinction between business name and then companies. Now,
Mm,
companies have tax relief. Now, what's the tax relief for company? Tax relief for company is that any company that does not have an annual turnover of up to 100 million
mm,
naira,
yeah.
right, should not be taxed. That's putting it plainly, right? You know, for
Wow.
an individual, the cap is 800,000 annually.
Mm,
For companies, it's 100 million. So you're a
100
lot
million.
more safer having a company than a business name. Because even if you have a business name, if your business should have an annual turnover of 800,000 and above, then you will be taxed, right? But for
Mm,
company, the cap is 100 million naira. So that's a whole money. That's a whole lot of
yeah.
money. So in fact, if that means if you as a company you don't make up to 100 million naira as a company, you will not be taxed, right? You will
Okay.
only be taxed if your annual turnover exceeds 100
100
million
million.
naira. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
thank you so much for that clarification. And I know most startups have
You're
not really
welcome.
gotten to that category of 100 million naira. Some, let me
Yeah,
know if you
yeah,
know most some startups. So
yeah,
you are
yeah,
safe, you are free to actually register your business so you can get all the benefits that
yeah.
our guest has talked about. So let's quickly move to the next questions because this is something that I've observed about businesses in Nigeria. Like when
Mm-hmm.
two persons want to start a business together, maybe two friends, they are
Yeah,
starting it based on trust. Let me say Amarachi and Precious want to start a business, right? So I
yeah,
trust you and you trust me, and we just wake up one morning and start maybe more business together. Just
yeah,
verbal agreement, fifty
yeah.
fifty or maybe 50-60 or whatever. There is no
Mm-hmm.
legal structure. So can you actually explain to us what could actually go wrong? Even if it's someone that you trust so much, what could go wrong down the line if we go like this in our businesses?
Okay, so a lot of things could go wrong. That's what we call like a gentleman agreement, whereas you have an agreement or an agreement that's not written down. It's not pen and paper and all that. So we call it a gentleman agreement, or
Wow.
we call it a trust agreement, like you said. So
Mm.
one of the things that could go wrong is that we know where money is involved, money gets to bring out the worst in people, right?
Exactly.
So yes. So what if in a situation where, okay, fine, both of us have gone come into an agreement that's not written down, right? Just okay, you're my friend, we've been friends since childhood. I want to start this business. Let's go to it together. But what if at the stage of the business, right, one of the parties stopped working, right?
Okay.
What happens then? There are a lot of
Mm.
what ifs, right? That a gentleman agreement does not take care of. What if one of us falls ill, like one of the parties falls ill? What then happens? A lot of what ifs. So having a written agreement serves as a referee. I know this is football season, Premier League, Champions League, and all that.
Mm.
So imagine a football game without a referee. Right. Imagine how
No.
chaotic the field is going to be. So entering into an agreement, especially a business agreement for that matter, without having a written agreement, without having a lawyer, is like having playing football without a referee,
Referee.
right?
Wow.
And then also signing an agreement that you haven't had a lawyer look at is also very risky because that's also another aspect to it. You say, oh, we want to enter into an agreement and then let's draft this contract. And the funniest thing is that these days a lot of people even use um chat box
ChatGPT.
like AI, yeah, to
Yeah.
draft an agreement for them. Okay, so funny story. I saw an agreement drafted by AI, ChatGPT, and then someone asked me to look at it that this agreement was drafted that he wants to sign, and I just looked at it and I was so pissed because there are lots of traps, and you
Mm.
can't see it because you're not trained to look at it. It's
Mm.
just like someone that is not a doctor trying to perform a surgery.
Wow.
You've not been trained to do that, so how are you going to pick out the red flags, right? People say, oh, this lawyer just wants to take my money and go. No, the lawyer is there to safeguard your interest. ChatGPT will not safeguard your interest. ChatGPT is not even made for the Nigerian environment. And then you're telling it to draft an agreement for you. And then it's drafting like a 5-page agreement and it's called that an agreement. It's a whole lot. So like I said earlier on, having an agreement in place for a trust agreement or a handshake agreement or a gentleman agreement is like having a referee that helps to decide and settle argument before they turn into police case or court battles. You see, that's why you see instances where friends take themselves to court, or even beyond the friends, you see family. These people have been long-time friends. They started a business together, and then say something happened down the line, and then you see two families fighting court battles, trying to settle it in court. Why? Because the proper things was not done in place. Imagine if you had invested in a lawyer, you had invested in a written agreement, written contract, co-founders agreement, shareholders agreement, and all that. Imagine if you had done that from the get-go. The money you spent on litigation, on trying to do arbitration, mediation, you saved on that cost. Why? Because you already put a proper structure, right? So entering into an agreement without a proper agreement, without a contract in place, I mean, written documents now, is as risky as playing football without a referee.
Wow. It's powerful. And what really stood out to me was when you talked about using ChatGPT, because I also saw a video going on about people using ChatGPT for many of their legal issues. And I thank you for saying this. I think it's very important that we take note of this as business owners. Yeah, ChatGPT, just like you said, is not made for the Nigerian environment. And we have to work with the lawyers that have been trained to understand the environment, the business environment of Nigeria. So you don't sign into something that will be a trap for you. Thank you so much, Miss.
Okay.
Thank you. So I have another interesting question, because someone watching this can be asking, when do I really move from just an idea to getting a legal protection for my business? Let me say I launch a moi business and I'm getting turnovers maybe in tens of thousands, right? So do I need to start registering it immediately, or do I have to get to a certain, you know, level of profit before I register my business? When is the right time to get legal protection?
Okay, I would say the right time to start worrying about legal protection is the instant it even becomes an idea, right? When it becomes an idea, you have this idea, you start thinking, how do I protect this idea legally? Right? For instance, you have an idea to start, like you said, moi business. And you want to start making moi and all, and then you have a name for it. Before you start thinking about it, oh, this moi business I want to start, this name that I have, is somebody else using that name? How do I protect this name? Because it's a brand, right? That name you give your company, that business, that idea is your brand. It is part of who you are, right? It is an offshoot of you, right? Or you're a tech startup. You start thinking of, oh, I want to do this idea, it's a solution maker, it's a game changer. You have all the big ideas in your head. You have to start thinking, how do I protect this idea? How do I protect my interest in this? How do I do this? How do I do that? Because the truth of the matter is that you have an idea, right? And then you want to talk to somebody about it. Say you need advice. And I've seen this times and times again. For instance, a friend, you have this very big idea in your head, right? And then you need someone to give you advice, and then you take it to like a friend of yours and you say, oh, I have this idea, blah, blah, blah. And then the next thing you know, this friend of yours is that same idea you're trying to talk to him about. He has started doing it. Do you understand? So immediately your idea starts interacting with the world, you need to have it legally protected. So imagine before you took this idea to your friend, you already have an NDA. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, right? It's an agreement that binds the other party such that there's confidentiality. There's a confidentiality clause which states that this other party is not allowed to do anything with this your idea, except, this is just putting it in layman's terms, except things that will benefit you, the original owner, right? So it binds even people working for you such that they cannot take your idea and use it elsewhere or use it for something else that is not in your best interest. Do you understand?
Okay.
Immediately your idea starts interacting with the world, you need to have it legally protected. Now you need to start thinking of legal protection for your idea, for your business, even when it's still an idea. Right, that's also part of the things you should be thinking, the things you need to, the I's you need to dot, the T's you need to cross, right? So you're hiring a manager or a driver, you need to have an engagement letter, you need to have an employment letter. You are taking money from customers to get a business done, you need to have the terms of sales, you need that terms of sales agreements that will handle refunds and exchange. Or you're a business owner, say you are selling in Onisha market, you need to have a receipt, and that receipt needs to have terms and conditions listed in it. Those are parts of legal protection to protect not just you, but protect your idea, right? So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think interesting. This is powerful. Like these are powerful bullets that you're just shooting. Yeah. So now
Yeah.
you're mentioning about some legal documents. I was about to get to the part of legal documents that every startup should have
Okay.
in place. I know they are actually might not really be able to give us everything, but can you give us examples of compulsory legal documents? Like if I want to start up my business again, that I need to have in place at least for a start.
Okay. So first things first, you have a business idea. Right. The first thing you should be thinking of is getting it registered with the CAC. Like I said, Corporate Affairs Commission. You need to get that business registered. That's the first things first, before any other thing comes into play, right? And then after that, now depends on the kind of idea you have, right? If it's a novel idea, when I say novel idea, if it's one of a kind, if it's a brand you think you want to use, you want to trade on, then you should have the trademark. Now, trademark protects your IP. IP is intellectual property. It protects your IP, protects that brand as being yours. For instance, now, you want to start a garment business, you want to start selling clothes, and then you want to make a brand, like say you're a fashion designer, right? And then you have a brand, you want to name it Achalugo. Right? I don't know why I just like that name. You have a brand, you want to name it you want to name it Achalugo, and then out of Achalugo you want to have like shoes involved. So now Achalugo is your brand, and you need to look around. Okay, is somebody else riding on this brand? Does somebody else uses this name? If not, then quickly get it trademark as yours as part. So it's trademark under say your business, your company name is Achalugo Company, Achalugo Limited or something like that. You trademark it under Achalugo Limited, such that anywhere Achalugo is seen, people see it as you. For instance, MTN. MTN is a trademark of MTN Corporation, right? So nobody else can come and use that name MTN for anything. MTN can sue that person. So that's what I'm talking about. So another agreement is founders agreement, like for startups, partnership agreement, where it outlines the roles, the duties of founders, the duties of the shareholders, the equity involved, how much equity they stand to gain in the company, and what happens if somebody leaves. For instance, you start a company and then you have shareholders, and then say somewhere down the line one of the shareholders leave. When he leaves, what happened to his shares in the company? What happens to his stock? Or say one of your shareholders just stopped working for, say, 6 months, 3 months, 1 day, 2 day, is non-responsive and just decided to, like, let me use the Nigerian term, fashi the business. What happens then? What are the plans, the structure put in place for situations like that? So that's why you need a founders agreement, you need a partnership agreement. Also, you need employment contracts. For instance, you can't tell someone to be working for you and you don't have a contract in place. You need to have a contract in place, and that contract serves as a referee, like I said. Essentially, contracts, agreements, written agreements serves as referee to help guide that transaction, that business agreement, that business partnership. Like I said, if you don't have a referee, imagine not having a referee in a football match. How chaotic it can be. So, what happens if your staff runs away tomorrow? What happened? Runs away with your goods or your customers. Say you're a fashion designer, then you have staffs, and then tomorrow you now discover that one of your staff has left you, open his own fashion designing business, and then all your staff took them. What do you do? How do you go about that? Like, what is your next step. So imagine if you don't have an agreement, you don't have a contract agreement, employment agreement with that staff. There's basically nothing you can do because there's nothing to tie down that staff, right? These and more are some of the agreements, some of the contracts you need to put in place as a business owner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. And I also think maybe towards the end of this session, we'll also be sharing your details because I know some startup owners would like to reach out to you, so you can also
Yeah, no
provide
problem.
more insight to them. Right?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no
Okay.
problem.
All right. Thank you, Ma. So let's move to the next question. When it comes to
Okay.
sharing ownership, you mentioned about founders and co-founders
Mm-hmm.
agreement. So and
Yeah.
also investors, what
Yeah.
should founders agree on before anyone starts contributing money, maybe time or resources? I think I listened to either a podcast or a conversation where okay, it was the course that I enrolled into, where founders
Yeah.
were being advised on the steps to take before actually enlisting someone as an investor or giving a part of their shares. Because if there are some founders have actually been, should I say, kicked off their business because of
Mm.
maybe they sold a part of the shares. From being the major shareholder, they now became like the least shareholder in the company. So how can founders actually protect themselves from having something like this? What steps should they take before agreeing to maybe someone investing in their business or investing their time or resources to their business?
Okay. So now it depends on the agreement you have with that prospective shareholder. Like as lawyers, we don't doctor your agreement, right? We just what agreement do you have is illegal. Basically, that's what we do. We advise based on the legality of the agreement, right? Now, the profitability and otherwise of that agreement will now depend on your business advisor or business counsel or something. But what we lawyers do, we just advise based on the legality of that agreement. Is it legal? Is it not legal? Now, that being said, I do believe that as a founder, right, it's not economically wise to give out 100%, like give out your full shares on day one. For instance, you have an agreement with your co-founder, or let's say an investor, right? And then based on the money he's bringing in, you say, oh, for this money, I give you, say, like 10% of shares in my company. I give you 10% shares in my company. It's not economically wise. Now, like I said before, it's depending on the agreement you have with the person and based on relationship with the person. But I'm just saying from a personal point of view, right? Now, it's not illegal to give him 10% of your shares immediately. There's no illegality about that. But just talking from like my own personal like perspective, right? It's best not to give out the full 10% at once, right? It's best to for the person to earn it over a period of time. What we call that vesting shares. For instance, I intend giving you 5% stake in my company. It's best to have it vested such that the 25% goes to you at the first year. After the first year, the next year, another 25% goes to you, and it's splitted that way, such that I don't at that particular day give you the whole 10%. I make you earn it, such that because there are instances where okay, you have a co-founder. This person says she's going to help you with the technology aspects of your business. Say you're building an app and then this is like your technological guy, and then you say, oh, because you're the CTO, I'm going to give you 10% shares in my company, and then you draft the agreement and then you give him 10% shares. Now what now happens if, say, after 5 months your CTO is nowhere to be found? Remember, there's already an agreement in place. It's already been captured in CSC that this guy is a shareholder in your company and he has 10% equity, 10% stake in your company. Now he has left after 5 months. How do you get to regain your shares? What now happens? There are that issues, and that's why personally I believe it's best to allow them to work for these shares. It's best to have these shares vested in a period of time. 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, depends on the agreement. Because what happens if after 6 months, after 5 months, this your CTO guy leaves and then he has left with 10% stake in your company for doing literally nothing, right? So there's also that.
Wow. And these are things that most founders don't even think about. They just do it out of emotions. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
sentiments.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And then one of the questions I also want to add, I know we are already wrapping up the session.
Yeah.
Most founders, at least startup founders, they think that legal services are for big companies. Like, how much are we earning? We don't really need this for now. Especially people in, okay, you mentioned Onisha market, Aba market, they don't really take time to actually invest in legal services. When should a startup bring in a lawyer or a legal expert into his business?
Okay, so like I said before, immediately you have an idea, right? Start thinking about the legal aspect of it. Don't wait till you have that idea set on stone, such that the idea is already making money for you. You're profiting from it. You've not thought about registering the idea. You've not thought about registering your company and all that and all that. And then you feel that, oh, probably when I hit 1 million, when I hit 2 million, I get involved with a lawyer. Because trust me, the lawyer will charge you more when that business is established than when it's just a startup. Right? So it's more penny wise, pound foolish. So there are ideas, there are protections to this thing. So your lawyer is to serve as your legal representative that have your best interests at hand, such that whatever contract you're going into, whatever you're doing, the lawyer is there to protect you and put you through, to give you legal advice, to tell you what to do and what not to do, so that you don't end up on the wrong side of the law. Because remember, ignorance is not an excuse. You can't go to court and say, the judge, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. For instance, now, based on Nigerian law, right, selling military equipment without going through the proper registration channel, proper bodies you should register with, is illegal. And then you have this brilliant idea of selling military gadgets and all, and then you start it, and then tomorrow you have a court case, and then you tell the court, oh my lord, I didn't know that this was illegal in Nigeria and all that. That's no excuse, right? So that's why you should have a lawyer involved from the very get-go. I hope that answers the question.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this. One of the things that you said that actually stood out for me is not having legal expertise in your business is like a football match without a referee. I'm really going home with this. So the next question is this. Okay, for founders, I know you might have worked with a lot of startup founders, right? Maybe directing them or providing legal expertise to them. What are the most common legal mistakes that you have observed among startup founders, especially in this part of the world, and how can they avoid them?
There are a lot. And one of the major mistakes I see with founders is believing that they are smart. In the sense that they want to be both founders and lawyers, right? So they use logic. And another thing again, most of them do is, oh, ChatGPT is there, Claude is there, Gemini is there, few prompts. I just say, oh, Gemini, help me generate an NDA agreement, and then Gemini give it to you and generate it for you, and then you use it. And then you've forgotten that there are different laws guiding different jurisdictions. Nigeria has their own laws, UK have their own laws, US have their own laws. And then probably the template generated for you is suitable for UK, US jurisdiction and not for Nigerian jurisdiction. Because we have our own data protection laws, right? We have KAMA. We have a lot of laws in Nigeria. Nigeria is not a lawless country. Like a lot of people want to believe. Nigerians have laws that are guiding people and how they operate, including businesses, right? So that's one major mistake a lot of founders do. They believe that, oh, I can just have AI generate this agreement for me, or I can watch YouTube videos and then get to generate this. Whereas they are not trained. Like I said before, it's like somebody who is not a doctor going to do surgery. You have no business in the operating room. You have no business in the theater. Another mistake is people getting to mix personal accounts with business accounts. you have a
Okay.
business that is running, and then you mix the money coming in for your business and then your own personal money. Probably someone gives you a gift, part of your personal finance, right? And then you are now putting that in your business account. And then you're mixing the two up. It's confusing because, like I said, the company is an entity on its own. You get to confuse even your company, right? Because at the end of it all, you can't really account for your gross profits. You can't account for anything because you're mixing the whole thing up. And it's even good for a founder. You have it's so separate. Your company should be so separate from you, such that for the work that you put in, you should pay yourself salary from your business.
Wow.
And then when you pay yourself salary, it should go to your personal account. So you don't get to spend the money in your corporate account on your private lifestyle that has nothing to do with the business. You're going for a birthday party and then you're now taking money from your company account. Why? At the end of it all, you can't account for anything. You don't know if your business you're making gain or you're making loss. Or somebody comes to you and say, "Oh, I need so and so thing," and then you quickly go because you have money. Your clients have paid you. You now go to your corporate account to take money to give to that person. It's wrong. So these are common legal mistakes that I've come across. There are others, right? But for the sake of time, let's just
Okay.
leave
Yeah,
it at
thank you
those
so
ones.
much for
Yeah.
sharing this. I'll be asking the final question
Okay.
for now, for the sake of time. So, for entrepreneurs that are listening to this and they will want to protect their businesses properly, I'm
Okay.
sure they will want to reach out to you, having listened to you, and they've gotten a lot of insights. How can they reach out to you for legal support for their businesses or their business ideas?
Okay. So it depends on where you are, right? You can actually reach out to any lawyer. When I say a lawyer now, I don't mean the person you are calling the law. The law is not your lawyer, right? So you have to get someone who has been called to the Nigerian bar, who is a lawyer, who is a barrister to the seat of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, because that person has what it takes in terms of the expertise to give you professional advice. And because legal society is a very vast one. So even if that person does not have the necessary expertise, you can reach out to other people. So that being said, if you want to reach me personally, I don't know, I'm going to call out my number. I don't know if it's possible to leave it on the chat or something.
Yes, I can pin that, maybe your email or yes, or social media.
Okay. Okay, so you can reach me. My cell number is 08050262722. That's my personal number. And you can reach me on email at prayer is spelled PRE, prayer chooks is spelled CHUKS, prayer chooks, or like the number 001@gmail.com. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ma. I can't believe that we've come to the
Thank
end of
you.
this session. Like, I really, really
Yeah.
learned a lot. And I believe everyone that has gotten to this point really learned a lot. Whether you're a startup owner, whether you're a founder, whether you have a business idea, or you're just any individual that just wants to learn more about this, I'm sure you've really learned a lot. And I really want to appreciate our guests, my precious. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining us for
you.
the
Thank
session
you. Thank you
today.
for having me. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
And
Yeah.
it was really nice doing this with you. Thank you.
It was nice being here. Yeah.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out to her for legal support for your businesses. And just like she said during the session, having a business without a legal support is like a football match without a referee. And I'm sure you don't want to be a part of a match that doesn't have a referee. So kindly do reach out to her immediately or get a legal support for your businesses. So thank you once again for joining us for this session, my precious, and thank you everyone that has watched this. See you in our next episode. Thank you. Bye for now.